moment that I betray that sensation, the moment that I betray that sense to see Jeff as a person and to treat him as a person, I go into this area of justification where I begin to inflate, actually create faults, and I begin to inflate my own virtue. I enter into a realm of distortion. I become self-deceived. At that point, I'm no longer operating in reality. I'm operating in this contrived situation that does not reflect reality. Did I see Jeff as these things before I betrayed that sensation? Not at all, right? Did I see him as lazy? Did I see him as anything else before that happened? Do these feelings make me want to go back and give Jeff the information? What do they do? Is Jeff still a person to me? Not at all, right? Not at all. Okay. I'm moving to this inward mindset. I see him as an object. Again, do these thoughts and feelings that I'm now having here make me want to go back and do what I originally felt to do, which was to provide him this information? Definitely not now. Stop and think about this. How I've just completely altered reality. There's no way now, in this new distorted reality I've just wandered into, that I would ever go back and consider doing anything helpful for Jeff. Yeah. No, it's not deserving. Okay? So not at all. What do these feelings do for me? What do they do for me? Right here. Now that I see him as a threat, incompetent, opponent, lazy, not worthy, as a loser, I see myself as all these things. What do these things do for me personally?
You justify why you didn't do it.
Makes me feel justified, right? They simply justify my not doing it. Okay? All right. When I betray my outward sensibility toward others, I need to feel, and go ahead and write this in, page 32, big bold letters, justify. Everything changes. The ramifications of this are extensive, they're huge. Now, in this situation that we just went through, who has the problem here, really? Who's the one with the problem? Is it Jeff or is it me?
No, it's you.
It's me, right? Who do I think has the problem? Right. So again, this is where we, as the title of the book, Leadership and Self-Deception. This is the big issue that Arbinger began with. This is around 100 years plus a philosophical work that have been occurring around this concept of self-deception. And how when you are in the zone of self-deception, you are no longer seeing the world how it really is. Therefore, every decision you make is flawed because you're simply not being in the real world. Did you see how I just created that self-deception here? And it all started with a simple choice to not see you as a person, to betray that sense to treat you as an individual, and to consider you somebody that mattered the same that I mattered. The moment that I betrayed that, I became self-deceived. And now everything has changed between Jeff and I. The last thing in the world that will now happen is for me to ever have one of these senses toward Jeff that would in any way help him. Because if I've gone ahead and had to justify my decision by labeling him a lazy, loser, opponent, incompetent, threat, sorry Jeff, you're not these things. I'd never have a notion to go back and do these things again, right? It never occurred to me. We enter into this zone of self-deception. Okay?
Dave,
So with the choice.
I think in the video too, he talked about how the transformation happened with the team, and I do believe that even with this kind of inward mindset, a leader, a manager, whatever, is actually displaying that to their team, and also just having that whole notion and thinking sometimes go that way.
Yeah.
Which can permeate throughout.
It can. You know, it's incredible how things can, you know, there's good ripple effects, there's bad ripple effects, right? We'll see that as we move on. In fact, what you're getting at is how these boxes and these mindsets multiply. And that's what's so scary. We'll see that here in a moment. But in this instance, we want to establish this is one of the common ways. This is one of the ways that we find ourselves entering into the box. Any time that we betray a sensation, a sense of treating another individual like a person that matters the same as us, we immediately find ourselves going into the box. We become self-deceived. Okay? Now, can you get out of that? Of course you can. Are there other ways to deal with this? Absolutely. For now, we just want to see how we can move into this inward mindset. You'll begin to recognize this as you go throughout the day and tomorrow. You'll suddenly realize that you are confronted not with one or two, but 10, 20, 30, 100 choices throughout the day to see somebody's individual. When you're driving on the road, somebody cuts you off. Do we automatically assume the worst motivation of them? What do we do at that moment? Do we see them as another person? Do we give the benefit of the doubt and we're trying to work through it? This doesn't mean that we lie down and let the world beat us up, and it just means we see them as a person. Okay? We're going to move into that section here in just a second. But I want to talk about symptoms. So some of the symptoms, common symptoms, and we're going to work through some of your personal symptoms here in a moment. I want you to be thinking about some of these things if these relate. So you go ahead and write some of these down, and then just be thinking about some personal ones. Some of the symptoms of an inward mindset might be, I feel right or justified. When we feel that certainty begin to creep over us and harden us, we might be operating from an inward mindset. Okay? Because if I'm absolutely certain that anybody that disagrees with me must be absolutely wrong. Now, does that mean that that might be the case in some instances? Of course it does. We just need to be careful of some of these symptoms, okay? I might feel victimized. I might blame. I mean, if somebody's operating or somebody's doing something, and I betray that sensation, treat it like a person, I've got to blame him. In this case, I'm blaming Jeff. It's Jeff's fault. I might feel victimized. Why is it always on me to correct his mistakes? Why should I have to be the one to go back and find this information and get it to him? It's just the same old story. I'm a victim, right? I horribilize. This is an arbitrary word. What do you think that means, to horribilize someone?
Think the worst.
Yeah. Take the worst elements and magnify them. And that's all we see. So we begin to horribilize them. Okay? Do you think there's a little bit of this possibly in our political culture today? Mm-hmm. Just a little. We love to do this. If we can take all of their worst traits and amplify them and then only focus on those, we're horribilizing somebody, right? Is it reality? Is it capturing all of the truth? Of course not. It's a distortion. But we needed to go there in order to justify our decision. So in all this, it comes back to me. I get defensive. Okay? Focus on myself. And again, all these are variations of focusing on myself, right? I'm the victim. He's to blame. How can you do this to me? I deserve this, or whatever else. But I want you to take a moment and just think of some of the personal symptoms. Just take a minute. I want you to pair up. So let's take the 3 down at the end, and then, oh, actually that doesn't work. Let's go with just 2, 2, 2, and 3. Just kind of get together and talk about different symptoms. Let's just create a little bit of a list, and then we'll jump up here on the board and write some of these down. So just begin to think of personal symptoms as you begin to find yourself. And by the way, I hope we're past the point where everybody recognizes we all do this. Be comfortable with the fact that we're all doing this on a constant basis. I teach this stuff, and on a regular basis, I find myself betraying those choices and going into the box. Okay? To simply know the solution isn't to fully implement it. We're just always trying to get better. So let's just be open and talk about these things, and let's try and figure out what are some of the personal symptoms that I find when I've betrayed that choice and I become self-deceived and I go into the box. What are some of the things that I might do? Okay? Some might get loud. Some might get really sarcastic. Some might get really quiet, reserved. Just think about that, talk about it, and we'll write some down.
I did feel that I would be justified, and that I would be pulling apart the team. I had that sense of guilt that I'm doing it, and I would pull apart the team. So that create that friction.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also.
Yeah, that's why I would
withdraw.
Yeah, because I like that first one.
You know, I feel justified that I don't have to.
But you're right, you start thinking about all the things that is justified. Yeah.
Validate it. Like I know my point, my
Personal.
That Brett, I think, is a very powerful part, because if you feel somebody else has more knowledge than you and that possibly could take your job, then you're not gonna give them any ounce of ability to take your job, because you're wanting that, you want to keep your job, you want to be that person, that powerful person, and if somebody else is gonna take it, then you're gonna have more knowledge and more ideas.
Right,
Then it's possible that they can stand out.
Right.
And so,
Yeah, and I think,
I think I would probably focus
so you feel like control.
it's going back to focusing on yourself, Jason.
Well, this person took this way.
Yeah.
How is this affecting me?
yeah.
Having this mindset.
Yeah, this is the right
Kind of putting it in a box. For physical symptoms, it can create that anxiety, that feeling that I just betrayed somebody, and then back to the guilt.
Right,
But
yeah.
you might also have that person.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and cut this one short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't do this as much in the future, and we turn it over to the group, we're really have some time. We're gonna keep things moving along. It sounds like there were great conversations going on. So let's just throw some of these things out. What are some of our personal symptoms when we go into this inward mindset? Just want to throw out some of the ones that you discovered you were chatting about. Quiet. It's a great indicator. I find myself in this way. Sometimes when I know I go into that, I'm just gonna, I go inside sometimes. Yeah. See, now we know what's happening there is I'm actually wandering into this box. And I'm actually going to begin distorting reality, because I have to get things back to equilibrium. So I'm going to find, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. What's another? Be quiet. That wasn't a cue for everybody to get. What's another?
I correct.
Correct? Oh, tomorrow. Tomorrow, we'll go there. All right, what else? What are some other indicators that you're going into this inward mindset? You're wandering into the box.
Validated.
Okay, you're feeling validated. That goes back to kind of that certainty and validated. All right, what else?
It's quicker if I do it myself.
Okay. So efficiency. So there's a lot of different emotions that could be around that. But yeah, that's a great kind of a process thing. What are some other symptoms? What are some things that you feel when you find yourself going in this box? So for example, when Jeff did that, how might I have started to behave around Jeff when I saw him next? I'd probably be a little bit more quiet, subdued. Probably would be looking him in the eye. I'd be a little bit
Probably
resistant.
wouldn't trust him, because
Yeah,
you're
trust.
thinking, well, if I did this to him, he, you know, has any sense of that I wasn't supporting him, yeah.
Wow. Michelle, in some ways you're starting to get into this guilt notion. There's something that's telling me in there that I know I did something wrong, even though I've done my best to justify this.
Yeah.
And so that can actually become detrimental as well, even though to some extent guilt can be a good motivator to get us to a different place. But it can also ruin things. All right, what else? Any other thoughts? Oh, I heard plenty being talked about over here. Give me another one or two. Let's get a few more. Personal symptoms that you're going into this inward mindset.
Shannon shared anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're feeling anxiety.
Oh, that is a great one. In fact, that's going to come up here in just a minute. Excellent. What else? One or two more. And when I say one or two more, I mean two more.
Friction.
Friction.
Positive friction.
Okay. So what would be the symptom around that? So you're seeing friction, you're feeling friction.
Conflict or?
Aggressiveness, because we had said even kind of aggressiveness.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
back and
yeah.
forth.
Yeah, that's great, because that would be, that all ties together. Let's do that. Aggressive.
Almost like you've crossed the line already, so you're gonna like really make yourself feel better by even doing more
Yeah.
against Jeff.
Getting really competitive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
watch how this happens. Look, all we're trying to do here is we're becoming alive to something that we do on a regular basis. Again, a lot of Arbinger's work is around this notion that we all have a problem, but none of us thinks we have a problem. That's what all of this is about, is recognizing that we all have this problem, and yet it's so dangerous and destructive because none of us are attuned to the fact that we have this problem. So we're just trying trying to become alive and sensitive to this. And as we begin to think of this box that we're going in and out of, and what can lead us in the box, we want to become sensitive and aware to some of those emotions or symptoms that we see in ourselves that are indicators that we might be going into a box. So we might begin to feel like a victim. We've just been victimized to some extent by somebody, and we've cast it in that sense. And we've begun to justify ourselves. But if we can become sensitive to the fact that, wait a second, when I'm feeling like a victim, that can also be a symptom that I'm going into a box. And it allows us a little bit of time and space to reconsider what just happened. And now, there are times where you might be a true victim of something. So we don't want to make any blanket statements here, but we just want to become sensitive to some of these personal symptoms that we might experience when we go into a box. Okay? All right, that was great. Great. Oops, let's go back to the key objective map. There we go. All right. Now, looking at those individuals that are on your key objective map, I want you to think about, suppose you were in the box at a particular time toward these individuals. If you were in that box, what symptoms might you exhibit toward each of those individuals? Because it's very different. There are some people that when I go into the box toward them and I feel myself going into that box, I might be very quiet. There's some where I might get very aggressive. There's some where I might get really sarcastic. And in some strange way, that's me recognizing there's at least some humanity to them because I'm changing the way that I'm reacting to them, even though I'm going into the box. But just think through symptoms, symptoms that you experience toward each of these individuals, and go ahead and take a moment, think through that, and write those down. Okay? And then we'll get into this in a minute. But if you exhibit any symptoms toward those listed in the person quadrant, then obviously we might want to think about moving them out of the person quadrant. Does that make sense? Because if we're feeling the sensation of being in the box toward them, perhaps that we actually see them as a vehicle or as an obstacle or something else. And again, I guarantee that with everybody on that list, there are times where you're not in the box toward them. What we're focused on right now is trying to become sensitive to those times and ways that we go in the box toward them. And by becoming aware of those symptoms that we experience when we go into the box toward that individual, we increase our likelihood that we can do something about it. Okay? Let's go ahead and move on. Again, like I say, you can always come back to this, we'll revisit it, but I wanted to see some of these things implement as we move on. Here's a big question. What is put at risk by the inward mindset and its need to be justified? Let's just talk about that for a second. What is put at risk? A lot of things. Let's just talk about some of them.
Relationships.
Relationships, right off the bat, right? Excellent. And we're talking about both work and outside, right? You know, the story, of The discovery of the cause of self-deception amounts to the revelation of a sort of unifying theory, an explanation that shows how the apparently disparate collection of symptoms of